Tome of Uselessness. I'm Devin.
Damn!
And today we're on video.
Trying to be.
We're trying to be on video so we can make a YouTube out of this as well as a listen podcast. But more importantly, we're talking about the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Honor Among Thieves.
Honor Among Thieves. I hope that subtitle, without getting into it yet, because we haven't done things we like, but I hope that subtitle means that there's going to be more to come, because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later for sure.
Yeah. So, Dan, did you like anything this week?
Yeah, I've got just a couple things here. One of them was I finally finished the 10th book of the 10-book Malazan Book of the Fallen series, The Crippled God, by Stephen Erickson. It was the last one. It was good. Finishing it with tears in my eyes because it was the epic finale, and there's a lot going on. It's a huge series. What's really interesting, and like I was saying, is that even he admits it when he wrote it, that it's like he just drops you into the scenario, and even by the end, there's still like character threads and things that are just there's no answer. It's just gone.
Yeah.
But there is a follow-up series written by the guy he created the world with. It's a 5-book series. I've read it once before. Might go back to it. And then there's also another book that Stephen Erickson wrote about these two characters that they show up in, like, I think I want to say the 3rd or 4th book, and then they're just gone. But they're like these weird, one's like a demon and one's a necromancer. And then they do some weird stuff and then just leave.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I didn't know that there was this supplementary book about them, so I might give that a read. And I watched a documentary, which was pretty cool, today by the CBC. It's on YouTube, the CBC News channel. I think it was called Big Music. I think it was put out a few days ago. And it's just about technology and music. A lot of it was stuff that's not new to me per se, because I listened to a lot of the ongoing history of new music, which they also interview Alan Cross in the documentary.
Oh, nice. What does he look like?
He doesn't, I don't know, he looks like this, older white guy now, but he's got like a smaller mouth for like how deep his voice is. It's kind of interesting.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah. But, he's a Torontonian guy, right? And the one thing that I thought that was kind of funny, and I was like, Devin would really like this, is they were interviewing a couple of musicians. And then the one guy, I'm just going to paraphrase here, he's like, F anybody who says that musicians are content creators. He's like, that is bullshit. He's like, we're not out here making content. He's like, we're out here making art. And I was like, nice. Nice. This guy was, full contempt for that whole, he was fine. He was like, oh, people listening to music, blah, blah, blah. But he was like, he was not happy about the content label, which made me laugh. And then the last thing is I'll mention, and I did a video about it, a little solo recording about Final Fantasy Tactics, which is one of my favorite video games. I jokingly said to you how I was listening to a podcast talking about its story. That podcast was The State of the Arc. And I was just like, I haven't played Final Fantasy Tactics in a while. And so I jumped back in, played through it, very much enjoyed it. And then, made a small video just talking about, overall just some of the stuff I like about the game. But it's a classic from 1998. And then there was a revamped edition in 2007, I think I want to say. That's the War of the Lions, where it's they did a retranslation of the game. So like the dialogue actually makes a lot of sense. And then like I was saying to you, it's like there's, they actually used literary things where the boss is talking like iambic pentameter, and it's much better. Some cutscenes and etc. But fun game, good times. And burned through that one. I mean, it took me just under 31 hours. I think it was like 30 hours and 30 minutes to beat or whatever, but good fun.
Nice.
But that is everything I kind of want to highlight. What about yourself? What have you liked?
I started playing The Last of Us.
Oh yeah, nice.
So I made it up to basically like, I think like the equivalent of the end of episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. It's really fun.
Nice.
It's a well done game. I'm very bad at it though, because there's a lot of things that they're like trigger, because I'm playing it on a console or with a controller, right? And so it's like hold down this button and this button to do, and then aim with the toggle stick. And I'm like, that's so many steps, and I'm so stupid.
One thing I always hated.
Fun.
Oh, sorry. No, I was saying about controls on the consoles was when Xbox 360, I think it was, when they introduced having to press down, like that the toggle sticks were a button.
Yeah,
it's the
I
worst.
hate that. No, it's like, yeah, I'm like, why can't I just press X to shoot? Like,
yeah. Yeah, like I don't mind like a lot of games where it's like, yeah, press R1 to aim and then you shoot, but it's like having to press down on the stick when you're trying to do something with it at the same time is like just cancer.
So this game to shoot, you have to press the left trigger to bring up your gun. The right trigger shoots the gun, and then you have to aim with your stupid toggle stick. I'm like, that's so many fucking steps, and these are zombies, and I'm not good at this.
Well, and I think part of the appeal in that game is that the zombies are hard to beat. You're like, I don't want to fight them. Get away.
Well, yeah, and then there's also like, you know how there's like the trigger and then the bumper on top of that? You have to do so much with the bumpers, and I never know when to use them. So I'm always just like shooting at nothing, and my flashlight's on, and like, why can't it just be X to shoot? Needs to be as easy or easier than Halo 2 on easy.
Right.
And I was playing on easy too.
Well, I was saying
so that, and then I've been. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say with a lot of those games, because it's like easy just means either you have more health or the enemies have less health or something like that, but the difficulty is still the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you get more ammo and stuff on easier modes too.
Right.
And then I've been Oh wait, have we talked about the Folding Ideas new video yet?
No.
I'm gonna stick that in there.
Yeah.
What was it called? Metaverse Defunct Land something?
Yeah, well, or it's like
the
the future is a dead mall was kind of the subtext.
Yes. We've talked about Folding Ideas before. It's a great YouTube channel, and you should go watch it. I don't know what else to say. It's a great video.
Yeah, so well done.
Yeah. Like, how long do you think it takes him to make something like that? Because that was like an hour and 45-minute long video.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how much outside help he has, because I know he does get some people doing music or this or that, but it's like if he's editing,
but he's still writing the script and everything too, right? Like,
100%. I mean, it's why there's months between his videos.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
He's not making content.
That's right. He is definitely making quality videos.
Video essays, yeah. I was rewatching the wall video the other day too because I got a rowing machine, and I was like, I need to watch something so I don't go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I've been watching is I've been rewatching old Guys Grocery Games because I love that show. I like watching people cook under stupid conditions.
Oh, do they have to cook stuff as well?
Yeah, and Guys Grocery, not diners, drive-ins, and dives, but Guys Grocery Games, where they have to shop and make a meal in 30 minutes, and then they'll do stuff like I just watched these were with like Food Network stars, so it was a little bit harder than a normal one, but they had to make a cheesy dish, and they could only shop in the freezer section and used canned foods. So hard. It's so fun. I love it. That's it. That's what's going on at Shea Devon.
Nice.
Meaning my brain.
Sweet. And then we both saw, or you also saw John Wick.
Oh, I saw John Wick. I didn't want to mention it because I thought we might do an episode.
Yeah, maybe if I get out to see it.
It's 3 hours long, and it's really fun because Donnie Yen's in it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so good.
Nice.
And like I was texting you, the least interesting part of John Wick is John Wick.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to get out to check it out.
Well, you should, because then we could record about it.
Mm-hmm.
The people want to know your thoughts on Jonathan Wick.
I'm sure.
Yeah. I think John is short for Jonathan, right? It's not like...
Wednesday calls him that a few times.
Jamantha.
No, I think Wednesday mostly calls him Jonathan.
Oh, yeah, he's good in it.
Yeah.
He's a good actor.
He is.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, I also was... No, I already talked about House, didn't I? In last week?
You mentioned it last time, yeah.
Okay,
but you didn't mention how you finished it.
Yeah, I finished House now. We're going to do an episode on House. We're going to tell you all about it.
Nice.
Laurie is really good.
Yeah, I mean, I know that show got a lot of praise when it was on.
It's weird watching shows from, like, the early to mid 2000s because, like, our social mores have changed quite a bit. So, like, there's a lot of, like, just straight up sexual harassment going on in House that, like, I don't think would fly today without any consequences. And it's also just, like, a lot of, like, anti-fat stuff and, like, kind of weird racist stuff.
Yeah.
Weird homophobic stuff, you know.
Yeah.
The 90s.
Yeah.
But it's still, if you can get past all that, it's still enjoyable.
Fair enough. I still like I was watching some Stargate and like X-Files and stuff, and like I said, it's just such a funny thing going back to that era of television where there's 26 episodes and it's all like Monster of the Week, and they're just like banging it out.
We kind of briefly talked about it, but like you had to have clip shows because there was 26 episodes a season, and it's like even if you have like a season long arc. Well, actually, I feel like what they did was they had like a 2 arcs in a season. Like the first half of the season would be an arc, and the second half of the season would be an arc.
Or most of the times, shows would just like go do their thing, and then they would have some kind of in the last 2 episodes or the last finale would have some kind of like story that they would continue in the next season to keep you hooked, right?
Yeah, I think specifically about House when I said that, because there'd be like a different medical case every week, which is the whole premise of the show. But then like the interpersonal stuff, it would kind of go like one arc, another arc.
Right.
What year did the writer's strike happen? Do you remember?
That was about 2008, I think I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the House started in 2004 and went to 2011.
But that was I think the most recent one, but there was one before that as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I think that was like mid or early 90s, I think I want to say.
2008? No, because it wrecked. It doesn't matter. I think it was earlier than that. I think it was like 2006.
I don't think so, because I wasn't working, I don't think, at Health Canada when that happened.
Oh, okay.
I was living in Langley, which was after that. So
I know that Heroes was interrupted at season 2 of Heroes.
And Breaking Bad as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they clearly recovered and went well.
Heroes, I guess, didn't. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I watched like 1 or 2 episodes in season 2, and then I was like, I'm out.
I like later on, like in 2013 or whatever, or 14, I was trying to get back into Heroes because I was like, I really want to finish the show. And I think I was like 4 episodes from the end, and I'm like, I can't do it. I can't watch another episode of it. It's so bad.
Yeah, I was. Like I think I've mentioned, I went back and watched Lost, even though I'd heard that it was ended poorly, and because we had watched some, and I think I got up to like season 3 or something like that kind of thing, and then eventually I watched it all, and then since then I've just been like, if it's bad, I'm out.
Lost is interesting because I think around season 3 it just becomes such a slog to get through.
Yeah.
And nothing feels like it matters.
Well, and that's what's so funny, I think, because I've experienced that as well. And then that's why when there's criticisms of J.J. Abrams' works, it's like people are like, he made Lost.
Yeah.
He had like 7 seasons of 20 or 12 episodes, and he had to write a lot. That's fine. That's pressure. I won't discount that, but it's like that was his ideas.
I feel like he didn't have like an idea of where the show was going when he started, because there's so many dropped threads.
Mm-hmm.
And when you compare it to a show that's like the writers had a clear idea of how each season and how the show would end, when you like do the comparison, you're like, oh yeah, this is bad.
Yeah. But we're not talking about something. Yeah. No, we're not talking about something bad. Let's get on to something fun.
Oh yeah, we're talking about something awesome.
Yeah. Honor Among Thieves.
Yeah. So what do you think of this movie, Dan?
Yeah, I think just quick review in that it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It looked great, and it totally kind of met my expectations as someone who played D&D a lot, that I was like, yeah, this is a D&D movie. There was a lot of stuff and tropes and, things that are in current movies, but not in a bad way. And I think it also went away from some of those things, like you were saying, that you were like, it was fun. There was a fun adventure.
It reminded me of like a movie that, like, not completely, but it had a feel of like a movie that would be made in the 80s or 90s, where it's just like, this is a fun adventure and then it is over.
Yeah.
Like there was no tragic backstory reveal at 3/4 of the way through the movie, or a double cross, or like, you know what I mean? Like it was just like a straightforward, like, these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, they're gonna fight eventually. And I liked it.
Yeah, or like you said, it was, we get those scenes or the double reveal like earlier in the movie, so it's just like, now we're just on for the adventure. Right?
Yeah.
And I think, like you were saying, one of the things, this could have worked for the movie, because the movie is only 2 hours long, but it only had a budget of $150 million. So I think that could have contributed, like you're saying, to its tightness, because they're like, we can't spend money doing extra CG and like all sorts of other stuff. So it's just like, we're making our small story.
Totally, yeah. And I loved it. It's so refreshing, like, compared to some of the other films that I've seen lately.
Yeah.
My absolute favorite bit, though, was before the movie started. Did you get that in your...
Yeah, I texted you about it. That I was like, we have to talk about this. Yeah.
So the main cast is talking about how great movies are and how we're the real heroes for seeing one in the cinema. But my favorite part is that Hugh Grant looks like he's the hostage the entire time.
They all do.
No, but Hugh Grant specifically, like, he looks like he's like, they have my child and they're gonna kill. Like, it doesn't even look like he's there for pay. It looks like he is there because he has no other choice.
Yeah, like, because Sophia Lillis doesn't even say anything, and I don't even know if did Simon say something even in that little PSA? Anyway, I thought that was massively embarrassing, and
yeah, I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, I'm in the cinema already. You don't have to tell me that I'm here.
You don't have to praise me for being a hero.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not like that. It literally, I was like, it left like a bad taste in my mouth, but fortunately the movie was nice and refreshing, but I was just like, what is this? Get away.
Hugh Grant being like, and without further ado, your movie. Like, it was just...
Yeah, that was the best take.
Yeah, it was so great.
Yeah,
Really?
that was.
I was laughing out loud at that part.
Yeah, I was confused mostly. I was just like, what is happening? And that's why I texted you about it. That I was like, was that even in yours? I was like, did everyone get this? Because that was dumb.
Yep. My parents went and saw it too, and I was like, "Ooh, look out at the beginning for this specific thing." And they were like, "Yeah, it does look like he's a hostage." Yeah.
But then the movie rolls along, and it's actually a lot of fun. The directors, John Francis Daley, sorry, and Jonathan Goldstein, and it was written. This is actually kind of interesting. We'll maybe talk a bit about it later when we talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff. But the writers credited Jonathan Goldstein, John Francis Daley, and Michael Gillio. They have the screenplay credit, but then Chris McKay and Michael Gillio have the story by credit, and we can get to that later. Yeah, where when I was looking that up, I was like, oh, what's going on here? And like I said, I mentioned smaller budget, $150 million. So far, it's made 81 at the box office. Hopefully, it does, continue coming into a long weekend. Hopefully, it gets some business. I know it's got, the Mario movie's out, John Wick is out, so it's got some competition there.
The Mario movie's out? We're not going to review that, are we?
We don't have to.
I mean, I'll go see it if you want to review it, but I just feel like it's going to be a hot, flaming turd. That's content.
Yeah, quite possibly. I don't know. I mean, it's weird because sidetrack Nintendo, well, and D&D too. They haven't made a movie in a long time, right?
Yeah.
And the D&D one, of course, because there was that movie in 2000, which I don't. Did you see it? I know I saw it in theater.
Yeah, of course I fucking saw it. I had a crush on the elf lady. She was so hot with her her perfectly boob molded breastplate.
If you've ever looked up Berserk like Casca, she looks quite like her.
Oh, nice.
But then there was, I think, 2 direct-to-DVD sequels. Maybe.
What?
Yeah, at least 1 I know, maybe 2, but I never saw them. And of course, left a bad taste in everyone's mouth until eventually this movie.
I mean, I liked it when I saw it in the theater, but I was 15, so and there was a hot girl.
I think it's one of those things where it's like Jeremy Irons is having some fun, and
yeah.
everything else about the movie is bad. But not this one, because we have a fun cast. Chris Pine playing Edgin, Michelle Rodriguez, which I couldn't immediately. I was like, clocker that. I was like, is that Michelle Rodriguez?
Yeah, I know, right? I loved her as like a barbarian. I thought her look was so cool. I love that they the way they made her character, that she was, a little bit dumb, but said everything straightforward. I just loved it. I thought she was so good in it. I loved her tiny little ex-husband that was played by Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper.
Yeah. She was like Chris Pine was great, but she was this. Her and Hugh Grant were the standouts for me in the movie.
Yeah, well, and she played very appropriately against Chris Pine. Like you said, she was just the strong silent type, saying very few words or some kind of cutting remark, whereas he's, sarcastic and witty the whole time.
Yeah.
And,
I liked their friendship too. We don't get a lot of male-female friendships in movies that don't turn romantic. And when it happens, I appreciate it because it's a representation for people like us who are friends.
Yeah. People can be friends. What?
No, you can't be friends with the opposite gender.
Yeah.
You'll die.
Probably. Yeah. And then Regé-Jean Page was Zenk. Zenk? Is that how you pronounce his name? The Paladin.
Oh, I loved the Paladin too. I thought that was great. He's from Bridgerton, the first season.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Justice Smith played Simon, our Elminster descended wizard.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, Sophia Lillis played Doric, our druid.
He looked very cool as a druid.
She did, for sure. And like you said, Hugh Grant as Forge, and the daughter played by Chloe Coleman, Kira, and Daisy Head played Sophina, our evil red wizard of Thay.
She was quite good in it too.
Super good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
no one was miscast, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, everyone was great, and I really liked a lot of the stuff they did. Yeah, it was. I didn't even know Hugh Grant was in the movie, and I was like, oh, cool, Hugh Grant's in this, because all I knew going in was Chris Pine was in the movie. That was it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I really liked it, and I like Sophia Lillis. She was in Hansel or Gretel and Hansel, that movie you didn't see, but I talked about.
Oh, okay. I've seen clips from it, and that's probably why I found her familiar looking.
And she was the main girl from the 2 It movies as well, like the recent ones.
I did not see those.
Me neither, but I know she's in them.
I've only seen clips that Bill Hader in because I think he's hot.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't know what you want to. I could. The music was done by Lauren Bouth, and he was saying that in an interview that he used to play D&D, and so he's like, when he heard that there was a movie, he was like, I want to be part of that production, and so I guess lobbied or however got in contact with the people, and then got on, and then production design by Ray Chan, and then costumes by Amanda Monk, and I don't think I'll mention stunt work people in this movie because it's literally like a giant page.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because there's a lot of action scenes in this movie. A lot of people getting hit by Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I find it harder to talk about movies I like than I do about movies I don't like, because I can be like, this sucked and this sucked and this sucked and they did this wrong, but I liked this movie and it was really fun. I enjoyed the owl bear. I thought it looked very good.
Yeah, it did look really good.
And it always makes me happy to see an owl bear. I want an owl bear tattoo. Dan, you have to make a Patreon so that people can pay for my owl bear tattoo.
Sure, that can be the first goal.
Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because, like I was talking about previously when we talked about the D&D licensing situation that was occurring, that the Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro, like the things that they technically own are very narrow in scope that make up like their D&D license. Otherwise, it's like mostly generic fantasy stuff, of course, like dragons and dungeons. You can't, copyright that, right? But like things, I can't remember now if the owlbear was on that list, but it's like Mind Flayers, Beholders, specifically Forgotten Realms, which this movie takes place in, that kind of thing. I did want to talk a bit about that because...
there was one more thing I wanted to point out that I really liked.
Yeah.
And now it's gone from my head. Sometimes I worry that I'm going to get Alzheimer's. What was the part I really liked? Oh, the fat dragon.
Yeah.
It was like a giant kitty with wings, and I want one.
Yeah, no, that kind of relates to what I was saying is the one thing I liked about the movie and its use of the Forgotten Realms was that if you're unfamiliar, like the terminology and what they're throwing at you is not so like specific or wild that you need to know. Like they name the dragon, they're like, oh, it's blah 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 dragon, but it doesn't matter what its name is. It's still fat dragon, and we have to deal with this, right? So, and yeah, and so that I thought they did a good job of kind of like blending that, where they're like, oh, I joined the Harpers and we're an organization that does this, so they kind of explain it, but they don't go into the deep lore of like where they come from in the city and how they operate and etc. He's just like, yeah, we're out there doing good, and you're like, oh, okay, he's a spy for good, got it. And even Doric, she's like,
I feel like they did a really good. You go. Sorry.
No, I would say Doric was the same thing. She's like, oh, I'm living with the evergreen people or whatever, and we just want to save the forest. And you're like, all right, right?
Yeah. No, I feel like they did a good job of blending, like just enough information that like it's exciting if you know about it, and it's not damaging to the plot if you don't.
Yeah. No, but one thing that I did want to bring up is that I used to play tons of D&D, and we mostly always played in the Forgotten Realms. And I also used to read a lot of the Forgotten Realms books, and played the video games and etc. So I used to know a lot about Faerun, but when they moved to the 4th edition, they advanced the timeline of the Forgotten Realms, and so many things changed. Like the whole they took over and created their own country in a desert, and like all this stuff happened, right? And then I read a couple of the books in there, but again, they were like transitional books because they were about Drizzt, and since he's an elf, he'll live through all that, right? So it was kind of like they were all right, but I didn't really kind of enjoy them as much, especially how they killed a couple characters that I was like, what? What are you doing? But my point was going to be that so the version of Faerun that they are existing in would be one that I was essentially unfamiliar with because Elminster has a descendant. He was alive the last time I was playing in the
Oh, nice.
right? So, or maybe not alive, but he was, he's powerful wizard, etc. So he's probably alive because he's probably immortal somewhere. But, so I don't know. Even to me, that I was like, they were at least, or their use of the major cities, Neverwinter, Baldur's Gate. They mentioned, I think they mentioned Waterdeep. And they're in Icewind Dale. That's where their prison is, like up in the north. So it's like, and the Sword Coast and etc. So it's like, there's all familiar locations. And Thay, like I said, with the whole Red Wizard plot, was fun. I liked the depiction of that. That was really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was really well done too.
Yeah,
Did you ever play the Baldur's Gate video games?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were fun.
Very much so.
They were like a poor man's Diablo.
Well, they were just different, right? Yeah. No, I was thinking about that the other day. That the smoke VFX that they were using, it looked really good, like and really like granular. Like I don't know, I thought it had a really cool texture, but then I was also thinking, it's because it wasn't meant to look real. Like it was fake smoke, so it was probably easier to render because they weren't trying to make real smoke in a sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know. I was just thinking about it that I was like, oh, it looked really cool and it had that neat granular effect and how it was coming down from the sky and then turning to smoke. And I was like, yeah, that looks sweet.
Totally. Yeah, I agree.
You got to have some nitpicks about the movie. Come on, David. What do you got?
I don't know. I just enjoyed it. Like I didn't. There's probably like some minor inconsistencies or plot contrivances in there, but I didn't care because it was just fun to watch. Like, yeah, I didn't like. It's not going to stick with me the way an Alex Garland movie sticks with me, right? It's not going to be like I'm going to be thinking about Dungeons and Dragons at 3 a.m. when I wake up to go pee and then come back to bed and I'm like, but what about me, right? Like it's not going to do that. It's not a deep movie that's going to like have a huge impact on my life or the way I look at things, but it was just really fun. I liked seeing Hugh Grant's face on everything. I thought that was hilarious. I liked Hugh Grant in it being kind of a bumbling, not bumbling, but like kind of like a charismatic asshole.
Yeah, he's a con man.
Yeah. I enjoyed there was like lots of parts where I'm like, oh, they rolled a 1. Like, oh, that was obviously a critical fail. Uh-oh, you're frozen. Nope, you're back. No, you're frozen. No, you're back. Okay, you're back. There's parts where I'm like, oh yeah, they rolled a 1, they rolled a 20. Like, oh, she must have a low intelligence score. Oh, he's got a high charisma score. Like,
I think they did release like character sheets for the characters in the movie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. One thing I was gonna say. Oh, sorry.
I guess if I had to nitpick anything, the wizard guy on their team, or no, was he a wizard or sorcerer?
Yeah. Sorcerer, wizard, Simon. Yeah.
Simon, was almost annoying a lot of the time. Like, he was just butting up to that annoying border, but not quite crossing it, but very close to crossing it for me.
I was gonna say something for me was I was hoping that there would be another encounter with the henchman that they introduced that Zank fought down in the Underdark.
Oh yeah. No, well, yeah, that would have been cool. I guess I would have liked him to be in the movie a little bit more too, but he was a little bit overpowered, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of like, okay, they managed to beat him. Yeah, they managed to beat him with Zank because he's got some sweet paladin powers, and then maybe they have to encounter him again, but the paladin is not around now, right? So that was one thing I was hoping he would make a return, and maybe not have all the minions with him, and now it's just the party versus the one. But
yeah.
What are you gonna do? What'd you think about
I thought it was a little bit convenient to just have the teleportation staff happen to be the walking stick, but like,
sure.
I also feel like that would be accurate in a game, possibly.
I mean, I could definitely see. I mean, we've all played games where the fighter just has some kind of random magic item that the wizard would be like, "Dude, I should be using that," and they're like, "No, it's mine."
Yeah. I enjoyed the brief cameo of the mimic. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that. Like, what do you think of the maze sequence at our kind of our climax there, introducing the monsters? Finally, more monsters. I mean, we've seen some.
Yeah. What?
I'll say we saw some monsters like the dragon, like you said, the fat dragon, but then we finally get some more like classic D&D monsters. Because that was one thing that was sort of lacking, I think I want to say, was fighting monsters, but that wasn't this plot really. But it was like,
I think they were trying to balance pleasing D&D fans but still being accessible to most people. Mm-hmm. So I could see them scaling back things a little bit because of that, Mm-hmm. I still enjoyed it though. Like I don't know, fun big gelatinous cubes are fun.
Yeah. Well, and the displacer beast looked great, right?
Yeah. I thought it looked great too. I thought that the maze when it was going up and down looked a little bit busy. Like I didn't think the effect was bad, but that much going on screen was a little bit busy for me, but that's personal taste, I guess.
Yeah, well, and again, the Forgotten Realms is like, it's high magic to like another level, right? Like compared to most settings in D&D, it's like like there's so much high level magic in that realm. So it's like, yeah, like continuity wise or magic ability wise, it's like, yeah, they could do that, but like you said, there was a lot. It took me a bunch of times that it was going up and down to figure out like how it was working going up and down. That was kind of unexplained because I thought it was just like magically being raised, not flowing into the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I thought it was just all coming out of the ground, like magically. So I was like, oh, there's a whole other level to this. So.
Yeah, because they needed it to have another level for the plot.
Sure. But I mean, that was kind of at least a classic situation where they got into a maze/dungeon, and you got your parties running around. And I think the other party is like a nod to the animated series from like the 80s or whatever.
Oh, not that. Okay, not Vox Machina.
No, I think it's a nod to the old animated series.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, I mean, there's so.
I really enjoyed. What's that?
I was just saying, there's so many nods, and like you said.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you really enjoyed?
I really enjoyed the final fight because it was the team working together. And I like that in movies in general. Like I enjoyed that in Marvel movies when like in Avengers when they all work together, but it felt like a very it felt like a D&D game at the end. Like like, I'm going to do this, you do that. Your daughter's going to use the invisibility stone to put the bracelet on the bad wizard. Like, it was just fun.
Yeah.
And it was, I like teamwork. I like teamwork. That's what it is.
No, and cool depiction of the teamwork where, yeah, they're all doing their different thing, and then like Simon's battling with like Bigby's hand, and there's some cool magic going on, and yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Like, and two of our characters get trapped in a bubble and are gone for like a chunk of the fight.
Two of our main characters.
Yeah. Well, and even that in that earlier sequence as well, where they do that, where Holga is beating up on all the guards, and Chris Pine's trying to like cut the rope, and he's like, we got him.
That was pretty great, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, that was I really liked. Again, I thought the effects for the magic was really good, and everything looked, it was flashy, but you could understand what they were kind of doing. And the Red Wizard, she's doing some high level magic and looking badass doing it. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the final fight scene, and I guess the message of the movie.
Family.
Yeah. So I guess if I had to nitpick something, the relationship between the barbarian, Michelle Ardu, and the daughter.
Yeah.
Felt a little bit like tell, don't show. Like, they're just like, yeah, she's like my mom. It's like they showed some stuff, but we didn't really get enough time with them together to really develop that relationship, so that it was sad, but it wasn't as heartbreaking as it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
But she died, and then Chris Pratt decides to, or Pine. Hemsworth.
Pine this time.
One of those boys decide to revive her instead of reviving his wife.
Yeah.
Because we did have that great line where he's like, "You're right, I was being selfish. I wanted to revive my wife. I wasn't trying to revive your mother."
Yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting way to put it. So yeah, I think that could have been a little bit more impactful if we had more time with them together. But I wouldn't have cut anything from the movie to make time for that. So, yeah, I guess that's like my most minor critique, right? Like,
right. Yeah, I think, like you said, just like the language of film and etc. Like there's 3-4 scenes and like a flashback or two, and you're like, okay, we get it. She helped raise her.
Yeah.
Cool. Right.
I mean, like, I think if they wanted to devastate the audience, they could have spent a little more time with them together.
Right.
And I wasn't devastated. I'm like, oh, he's going to revive her, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Oh, no.
Because, you wake up in her body underground somewhere? What if she was cremated?
She was cremated.
Oh, she was, wasn't she? So would she just be sentient ash in the wind?
Well, a high-level item like that would just probably bring her back.
Because I don't know about that, because, magic's tricky.
It is.
You can't wish for 1,000 wishes.
There's a theory, or I was reading something.
I feel like, I think she would have been sentient ash on the wind.
Well, they did raise some corpses in the movie anyway.
Yeah, but they weren't cremated.
No, that's why I'm agreeing with you that they raised some corpses. Yeah. They were still corpses. They weren't redone with their body. It was lower level magic, admittedly, but that's why I think the tablet, because it was a one-time use, it dissolved. It would figure it out.
No.
No. Not in Devin's game. Devin GMing, no. So you're sentient ash now.
Actually, yeah, that's probably what would happen if I was DMing, because I would make people kill children.
No, I would say, or she becomes an air elemental.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Yeah, or a wind elemental, or a zephyr, like a wind sprite.
And And then she's also mad at Chris Pine for like bringing her back because she was having the best afterlife.
Of course.
And then she just to destroy him. That's his sequel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope they make more.
Well,
I would anything. That would be great, right? Like a party of paladins or whatever. A courtship of clerics.
Yeah, we could talk a bit about that. Like I said, I got some notes on that.
Yeah, tell me everything you know.
Sure. Well, so in February 2022, a spin-off series was announced. A TV series was announced with Bronson Marshall Thuber was set to create, write, executive produce, and showrun the series. And he directed the pilot, and which I guess has either been shot. I think the pilot happened because in January 2023, Paramount Plus ordered us just straight up ordered 8 episodes, and it's being done again.
Oh no!
By Entertainment One and
Paramount Plus. Man, Paramount Plus is the worst streaming platform.
Sure.
They suck so much, but I want to watch the show.
Well, as far as I'm
Plus
aware,
is garbage.
It's not out yet, so.
Oh no.
And then, but as far as more movies go, in an interview in Polygon in April, so just recently, DeLay stated that he was like, it was never our intention when we came on board this film to make a franchise. But then Goldstein also said he's like, if they were to do a sequel, they would probably continue with the characters because the audience knows them now and can jump into a plot more quickly, and obviously has great affection for both the actors and the roles they play. But they would introduce more people along the way, of course. Right. So there's no word on a sequel. I guess they're still waiting on the box office.
That's fair. You wouldn't necessarily have to keep the same cast, though. You could just do it with a new group if you're just doing random D&D stories, which would be fun.
100%, yeah.
And it would change tones as well, like if you wanted to do a darker one, or, you know.
Yeah, but you're talking again something that's awesome, and as we know, movie studios aren't really doing that right now.
Good point.
But you're right. I mean, and that's what's funny is obviously the D&D worlds have unlimited fantasy potential. But I was trying to think as well when I was finishing that movie. When was the last good fantasy movie aside from Lord of the Rings? No Lord of the Rings. What was the last good fantasy movie?
Oh, I guess. Man, good question. Did the How to Train Your Dragons come out before or after Lord of the Rings?
Ooh, I think it was around the same time.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, around the same.
Sorry. So then caveat live action.
Okay, live action. I feel like fantasy live action fantasy has been more in TV than movies, right? Like, because there was Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
I can't think of any.
Yeah, I couldn't either.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I was trying to think. I was like, man, this genre, like it was proven Lord of the Rings could do it, Game of Thrones could do it, and it's just like, why is there not more?
I mean, there was like a string of like really terrible fantasy movies that came out. Do you remember? I wish I could remember what it was called. It was like Castle Walls, something like that.
No, I was to say Aragon that came out, but that was really bad.
And I guess you could count all the live action Disney movies as being fantasy movies.
Well,
they're bad too, though.
Yeah.
I think it had Donny Osmond in it. The one I'm thinking of is like a wizard, and he was just like eating the scenery. Like he came in with a fork and knife and a salt and pepper shaker, and he just gnawed on everything. Yeah, that's the only other fantasy movie I can think of at the moment.
Yeah, well, and just to change, sorry, I wanted to talk.
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser is a horror movie.
No, No, not Hellraiser. Hellboy?
Yeah.
Pan's Labyrinth?
Pan's Labyrinth. That's a good one.
It counts? Yeah? Okay.
I mean, again, we're splitting hairs here. Like, what's the definition broadly of fantasy? I'm thinking again, like more sword and sorcery, Lord of the Rings, D&D.
Oh, the Star Wars remakes.
Space fantasy, yes. No, yeah. But I did mention earlier, I thought this was interesting when I was researching some stuff about the movie, was its development, because it's been 20 years, let's say, since D&D movie. And in 2013, they announced they were going to make a movie with Sweet Pea Entertainment, based on D&D, with David Lee Johnson McGoldrick writing a script. 2 days later, Hasbro sued them because they were making a movie supposedly with Universal, with Chris Morgan writing and directing a script. So that was in 2013. In 2015, a judge urged Sweet Pea Entertainment and Hasbro to settle the film rights thing, to be like, figure this out, hash it out, or whatever. And so they did, and then it was going to go to Warner Brothers, and pre-production was going to be Hasbro. So they went to a different company, and they were like, well, yeah, split some money or whatever, Sony Spider-Man situation or whatever. Then in 2016, Rob Letterman was in negotiations to direct that script written by Johnson McGoldrick. Mm-hmm. Then in 2017, it was announced Joe Manganiello from Spider-Man and Deathstroke. He had written a script apparently with John Castle for the project and was talking about to the people for the rights to make a D&D movie. So the other movie is who knows where. And then he was working with Brad Payton and Dwayne Johnson to develop the film. Because Dwayne Johnson, of course, produces movies as well. And then in 2017, December, it was announced that it was moved by Hasbro to Paramount. So it's no longer at Warner Bros.
Oh, Jesus.
And so then in early 2018, Paramount was in talks with Chris McKay and Michael Giglio, and he was going to direct and write the film. And then in March 2019, it was revealed that Giglio had completed a first draft, and studio executives they were excited about it. They were like, "Yeah, this is going to happen now. It's 2019." July 30th, 2019. Suddenly, Jonathan Goldstein and Francis DeLay were in talks to direct, and then in 2020, early 2020, it was announced that they had co-written a new drafted script, but that, like I was saying, these other people were going to get a story credit, because they used. Oh no, sorry. And then that was kind of that. That was another note. Sorry, it bled into it. Yeah, so they were like, we're going to use some elements from that script with our script, and that's why they get a story credit by. But it's not even like the same script anymore. It's moved through like 3 different studios. I just thought that was so weird, and I was like, wow, that's so funny in the beginning.
You're saying that it had every potential to be an absolute fucking clusterfuck, and it still somehow ended up being a good movie.
Well, yeah, and because when they were writing it, they were going for a comedy. They wanted to make an action comedy with like a heist genre, Indiana Jones feel, because they were like, people understand the tropes of those genres, and it can be, used through the D&D vehicle to like not overwhelm an audience to be like, have to have a wall of Star Wars text at the beginning to be like, in the past, in the realm of Fae, which they didn't do.
Yeah. I mean, I was grateful for that because my attitude towards text at the beginning of the movie. I'm just like, I'm out. Goodbye.
And of course, a couple other small things that were kind of, they were saying that they wanted the magic to just not solve everything, which is why they had Simon say that many times.
Yeah.
And, they wanted to not just be like people standing there with their hands out. So they worked with, choreographers and even sign language experts to create like gestures for the magic.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. And they brought a crew in April 2021 to Iceland for photography. And they were saying when they went to Northern Ireland later in that month, they had everybody and some of the cast play D&D with their characters.
That's cool.
yeah, so then the people that could get a kind of a feel of how D&D even kind of works, and then they were saying that they also enjoyed that because it actually gave them ideas for how to direct the characters, even like how the actors were kind of like playing their characters in those sessions.
That's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
I
and then
like this little renaissance that D&D is having,
sure.
like over the past. Well, I guess it started kind of before COVID, but COVID really, I feel like, helped it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because everybody was isolated, and that's really cool.
Mm.
For me, I had burgers for dinner. They were tasty.
Nice.
Yeah, and I just burped into the bite. Should leave that in. It's what the people want.
Yeah. Well, and I would say the Chris McKay situation, when he left to go direct the Tomorrow War, that Amazon Chris Pratt movie.
Oh God, I have no interest in that.
I haven't seen it myself, but
It looks like content.
yeah, yeah. And then, of course, that when they get betrayed by Forge and they fall into that rug that's similar to the quicksand / oatmeal rug that is in the D&D 2000 movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was I thought that was some interesting things about the behind the scenes stuff. Like I said, I was like, that's some wild ride to make like a D&D movie.
Yeah, it's really cool that they made the people play the game though. I like that a lot. That's really. I feel like that's what all movies should do.
Yeah, and
Make your actors play as their characters in a D&D setting.
sure.
So like even Alex Garland movies. Like,
well, I mean, yeah, or there's a lot of different role playing games. You could use a horror themed one if he's making a horror themed movie.
No, specifically high fantasy Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
I think I'm tired. Sorry. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I'm sorry. I really enjoyed it.
No, that's
see
fair.
My cute little bunny friend? Fuck.
Nice.
That's what should have been on my camera the whole time.
Yeah.
Sorry. Using webcams for the first time ever.
Yeah,
my
this
whole
was
life.
time for me, actually. I've never used one before either.
What's that?
I've never used a webcam before either.
I was lying. I have used webcams because, I'm not an old grandpa. But it's the first time using it on Skype with you.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Should we wrap up, or do you have anything?
Yeah. No, I think
to add?
I think, like you said, it's a lot of fun. It was a great watch. Highly recommend. Go check it out.
I totally agree with that. I'm sorry that I didn't have more to add to this, other than I just really liked it.
And for me, like, I really liked it, same like Lord of the Rings, like all of the world building of like the costumes and the production design, and like even like I said, Sophia, she's got like wicked head tattoos and everything. It's just like it's all great.
Yeah, that was so cool. And you know what? I will mention one more thing. I really liked the sequence when the druid snuck into the castle, and when she was running away, she was just transforming into all these different creatures.
Yeah.
That was super fun and a really good use of like a druid character in a movie, making it visual and fun for people.
Well, and it was shot like definitely like full not POV, but like always with her, so you could see like she's transforming from this to this to that, and it's like fall down a thing, transform again, right? So
yeah, it was good. It was like they were it was almost like playing where you're like, oh, I'm falling, I better change to something with wings. Oh, I'm doing this, I better, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool. I liked it.
Oh, it was really cool.
Very well done. Good job, Dungeons and Dragons.
Which, in this movie, we got to see both Dungeons and Dragons.
There's only one dragon, though.
True, but there was a dragon.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's wrap up. Yes? Good? Okay, well, thank you so much for listening and watching. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review us on whatever, and also share it with all of your friends, and to download it 50 times. Have a lovely day.
Stay safe.
Wait. Instagram, Tome of Uselessness. Website, tomeofuselessness.com. Email, tomeofuselessness@gmail.com.
Nice and easy.
Now we're done. Goodbye.
Well, and stay safe, and thanks for listening.